Hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome to episode 129 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and today I'm being interviewed by an amazing person. But first, before I bring her on, I want to tell you quickly about how we met. Sometimes in life we plan great things and they come to pass. On other occasions, great things in life just happen out of the blue. So I was boarding a flight in Sioux Falls 4 or 5 years ago, and I sat next to a lady, and we struck up a conversation, and sh- and through the course of the plane ride to Phoenix, and then there was weather, so we got routed to Flagstaff, and so we had a long time to talk. But in the course of that, I discovered that I was talking to a very exceptional person, and she she gave me ideas for my business, and I gave her some ideas, and and we became Facebook friends. And the story could have ended there. How many exceptional conversations do you have with new people, and then you just don't keep up? But luckily, it didn't end there. For when she just happened to notice I posted something on Facebook that connected her with a few of her childhood friends that she had lost touch with, and she has come with her son to see me speaking in Sioux Falls, and I've had her on the podcast several times, and today she's interviewing me. Please welcome the one and only, the phenomenal Heather Thomas.
You're too sweet, Jason. Thank you so much. I am incredibly honored to get to be the one to interview you today.
Thank you so much, Heather. I love being interviewed, and thanks for the opportunity to be interviewed on my own show.
Great. And what a great chance for me to interview such a spiritual giant. And I truly mean that.
Mhm.
Meeting you 5 years ago has been incredibly pivotal to my growth. I think, as I've shared with you in the past, when you started asking me questions, very curious, how did you make this change in your life? And how did you make that change in your life? I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I just want people to accept me for who I am today. And I don't even know how to tell the hero journey from where I came. And that started me on looking into coaching and expanding, speaking into sharing personal stories. And when my son and I came to visit you in Sioux Falls, it was a positive, dramatic experience for him. I believe he was 11 and he was struggling with perfectionism. And he remembers you fondly. He even helped me prepare for the questions I'm going to ask you today. So,
Oh, that's amazing.
absolutely. So, may I do a formal biography and introduction of you the way you do for your guests?
I might find out some new things about myself.
Isn't that interesting? All right. Well, I do have to put these on these days so that I can actually read read this biography. we put together. And I want to encourage anyone who is listening live, please put some questions in the chat. I will be watching the chat and would love to toss over any additional follow up questions anyone has. So, whenever Jason Freeman speaks to an audience, be it an intimate mastermind in North County, San Diego, or an assembly of 1,500 high school students in Austin, Minnesota, or Minnesota, he is absolutely 100% committed to bringing his speech impediment with him. Audiences see him up on stage against all odds, living his dream, which helps them to see their dreams as closer and more attainable. Jason has a unique walk, a love for country music, a sweet tooth, those monster cookies. He has a master of fine arts and poetry. He is a TEDx talk speaker and a book that he authored called Awkwardly Awesome, Embracing My Imperfect Best. Jason's goal is to speak to millions of people in his lifetime. He hopes to inspire all of us to see the best in ourselves, to take the next step forward and persevere towards dreams, not only for ourselves, but for the health and happiness of generations to come. Please welcome with me, Jason Freeman.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming to your own Live with Jason Freeman podcast.
You're welcome. It seemed like I should show up, so I did.
I'm glad you were on time. That's better than what I do sometimes. I'm often late.
Me too.
All right. Well, Jason, I would like to start with just one or two fun warm-up questions. And then I'd like to go back to your hero story from your book, The Awkwardly Awesome, which is really like having a coach in a box right at your fingertips, and highlight some of the amazing quotes that, I have to be honest, actually brought tears to my eyes again. And then I'd like to ask you about any new exciting projects from Jason Freeman and the Awkwardly Awesome podcast. How does that sound?
Sounds great, Heather.
Great. All right. An easy, fun warm-up question. What are two things that made you laugh today?
Two things that made me laugh today. Ha ha ha. So one I'm laughing at the question because it reminded me to laugh, and then and I think that's probably the first time I've laughed today. Even and that's good to observe. Even though I did laughter yoga and was a laughter yoga teacher for years, just remembering to laugh and in ordinary life is a challenge. Like even only I watched a good comedian on Dry Bar Comedy for a few minutes, and she was funny. She's good, but sometimes I just just enjoy the humor intellectually and don't actually laugh. Ha 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 ha. So so it's really good to remember because they talk all the time about how in laughter yoga about how laughter is health and healing and it makes it feel good, but it's like anything. If a person doesn't do it, it doesn't do much. So that's a great question to start off.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so glad you brought up the laughing yoga. That's what made me think of it. in reading the book and hearing you talk about how you would just make the decision to laugh and then it became real laughter. Can you tell us about a time where it just felt like you maybe didn't feel like doing it, but then it felt amazing?
So actually, a few days ago, somebody said they wanted to call and laugh with me for a minute. No words, just laughter, and it sounded so fun. But then I don't know if it fell off the calendar. I don't know what happened. I need to follow, but they didn't call for whatever reason. And then at first I'm kind of like bummed, like, oh my gosh, now I have no one to laugh with. Now I'm just stuck here not laughing. But then I'm like, Jason, you can just laugh because you want to laugh. And so I started laughing and instantly started feeling better. I think so often, I know I have so often in life waited for other people to do things with me or for me before and I've forgotten that I don't need to wait. I can give myself permission to do what I want to do on many occasions.
I love that. What a great reminder. And you used the word permission. I think we talked about that last time, right?
Yeah.
It was a big aha for me, giving myself permission. I love that. I can just laugh when I want to laugh. Just you telling that I want to laugh. It's just when you started laughing a few moments ago, I started laughing. It was great. Okay, one more fun question. Let's see. Ooh, here's a good one. What famous person, living or dead, would you invite to dinner? And what's the number one thing you would want to know?
Hmm. It's a fun question, but it's also a really tough question. There's so many people living and dead who make who've either made our lives better by their contributions. I mean, we're talking to each other on computers, and so much technology has to exist for us to have this conversation. And I maybe you invented some of it, Heather, but I definitely didn't invent any of it. And so first of all, this question really reminds me, one, to be grateful for all the contributions of people alive and not here anymore. And then also reminds me, once again, hey Jason, you're not in this alone. You're not playing this game of life yourself. It's a huge team effort. And so, can you see I'm dodging the question? So, the the person who comes to mind is George Washington, actually, to talk about, like, he we the United States was just starting off as a nation, and he had a vision to step up and lead something that was starting. And I would like to tell him a bit about what the United States has become and all the amazing things it's been involved in, and also ask him a little bit uh, about all the present differences going on, and what he thinks of these very natural differences between people, and how he thinks unity can come out of these differences.
I like that though. That was good. I like that I like the historical figure as well, right? I'd love to get their perspective on like how would they perceive like our conflicts in politics, right? Because
Hmm.
it was contentious back then as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that. George Washington. That was a good one. That was a really good one.
This is the thing about Christians. I mean, I've never once thought of that answer at all, but the brilliance of your and the unexpected nature of your question helped me think of it. Thank you.
Right. Well, and for anyone tuning in, I wanted to give all the questions ahead of time to Jason, and he insisted that all be off the cuff and really put him on the spot. I think it was more challenging for me to keep the secret, Jason, than you, to be honest. I am not a good secret keeper. All right, and Daryl's chopping in from Facebook. Hey, Daryl. Hey, post a question in there, and I'll work it in for sure. All right. So, Jason, moving to your book, and I'll never forget. I think I had it ordered on Amazon before I got off the plane the day that we met.
Hmm.
I'd like to start with one of the first concepts that you outline in the very first chapter. I think it's called Moving the Finish Line. And I'd love to hear about the life experience and the experiences that brought you to this awareness about being your own judge that moves the finish line. I'll read this quote. Uh, how often do you function as your own judge and keep moving the finish line on your own personal best? And what you liken it to is you just ran a 26.2 marathon, you hit the end, and then they tell you, nope, the judge moved it to 31.3. Whew, did that hit hard? What were
Uh,
the life experiences that brought you to that awareness?
a lot of life experience from my own life, as well as looking at people around me. So often I pushed for a goal, like even when I was young, learning to ride a bike, in high school learning to drive a car, but then after learning it, instead of really celebrating and owning the power that it took to achieve that goal, it's immediately to the next thing, like, oh, I can ride a bike now, but so now can I ride a bike 20 miles, or I can drive now, but now can I drive in a big city? And I'm all Heather, I'm all for self growth and expansion and learning new things, but at the same time, we have an opportunity to balance it with pride for where we've come, what we've accomplished. I mean, listen, we all are miracles. We all started off as teeny babies who didn't know how to do anything at all for ourselves. And I won't go down the list of things we didn't know how to do, but we've grown to where we are now. Real miracles in motion, and so often we forget that when we look at the grass always being greener in the future. And yeah.
Isn't that the truth? I love how you said that. We need to celebrate because we all are miracles in motion.
Mm.
That is so, so true. And I think what you do a really great job of in your book is really being vulnerable about that hero's journey and some of the ugliness in the early days that brought you to where you are today and all the great things that you're accomplishing. And I know we all go in cycles with that, right? And again, that's that marathon, right? With that next one.
Mhm.
You talk about in the third chapter. Oof, and this one really got me. Um, Everything is bright and beautiful until it's not.
Oh.
And you share so poignantly about your fifth grade best friend, John Gridley the Fourth, who was killed by a car while riding his bike. And so you guys were fifth grade. So about how old were you?
I'm never good at that game. I maybe 8 or 9. I don't know how old a fifth grader is. A fifth grader is younger than 25. I know that.
Right, right. And so how did that grief, especially at that tender age, how did processing that grief, do you think, really play into who you are today and learning maybe how to process emotions?
So the it occurs to me that as you talk about the hero's journey, Heather, is the hero's journey is definitely not always heroic. It doesn't always feel heroic. Sometimes it feels exactly the opposite: overwhelming, challenging, dark. And in answer to your question, I was a little kid who had who had a few friends, and I mean you just take for granted at that age, and there are many ages that your friends are going to be there, and then suddenly the thing happened. Suddenly I saw John. One morning I saw him playing tennis, and then 3 or 4 hours later, I got the news that he was gone, that he died. And and at the time, and I think this is very natural to feel like the only one, and who's dealing with grief, and feel so isolated and lonely. And I didn't know how to deal with grief at the time. In fact, I'm still learning. One of my friends, Scott Delman, died again unexpectedly in in November, a blog just came out. Yeah, a newsletter just came out yesterday, where I talk about the art of mourning being a work in progress. And I started writing that newsletter a long time ago when my friend John died, and I it just came out yesterday. There's lessons in life that just simply take a long time to learn. Great question. Daryl has a question, Heather.
Yeah. Growing up after realizing of your speech impediment, before deciding to become a motivational speaker, was there any other career path you considered?
Oh, yeah, yes. In college, I was originally pre med, and then I got to organic chemistry, and I was like, oh, need to want to be pre med a lot more than I do to take this class because I just there's some challenges we choose with a whole heart, and then some we wish to avoid because they're not a challenge that fascinates me, and organic chemistry was just not a challenge that fascinated me. And from there I was going to be a nurse for a while, and then I got a social work license, but didn't actually use it. Instead, worked for 10 years with adults with disabilities in their homes, which was an excellent job. Just I learned so much from the people who lived in those homes, and will always be grateful for it. But I worked as a assistant. I didn't work as a licensed social worker in that capacity. And then and then for what variety of reasons I wanted to become a motivational speaker and author.
Awesome. And what a great question, Daryl. Daryl must be reading my mind because I was going to just look for the question that I had after that. If I can stay in the trenches with you, Jason, for just a little bit longer. When you shared about your college journey from having a clear path and then not having a clear path in the book, you then go on to talk about and again I found this to be very moving and and very vulnerable, where a guidance counselor at the college then asks you if or it gives you the guidance that you should go apply for disability. Would you be willing to share with those of us who've never even come close to that experience, kind of what went through your heart and mind and what pulled you out of that? Because I can only imagine.
Great question. First of all, giving guidance to anyone is tough, and there's so many options, and when we give guidance, some options will resonate with the individual we're giving guidance to, and some simply will not. And it's why it's called guidance. The individual gets to choose whether to take it or not. It's not like directives. It's not like you have to. So this person in their estimation thought it would be best for me to apply for disability, and I mean, we can debate whether that this person knew much about me or not, but who knows? Who knows? But for me, it was like I done so much work in high school and so much work in college, and to suddenly have someone tell me, instead of capitalizing on all this work, you should apply for disability. Uh, um, it didn't feel great, and luckily I was far enough along in my journey that I'm like, I'm like, that's not good advice. I don't want to apply for disability. I want a career. I love doing things, Heather. I wouldn't like a situation where I that a situation that didn't inspire me to live as fully as I could.
Th- Thank you for sharing so deeply. And in the book, there's a couple of great quotes, if I may repeat them, that I think really highlight how we all limit ourselves. Like, what I think one of the great things I got from your book, reading it a second time, now that I've had some additional healing, was how many uh, self defeating principles we all carry
Mm.
on different degrees and different levels. And it's kind of like, that part of your hero's story, it kind of is like the dragon in the castle, right? It was right there in your face, and then you got to choose how to respond to
Mm.
it. And um, I and I just think it's so powerful. I think it's and I think about that, like you said, that guidance counselor. We sometimes think when people give us harsh feedback or tough things in our lives, we think that's something that is meant to hurt us, when instead it's meant to help the hero become the hero.
Mm. Mm.
It's the fire from the dragon that gets you to get moving, right, in the direction you're supposed to go. Um, so I love that. And so I'm going to read a couple of quotes. If you would just share just a little bit more on how your mindset through this journey made your disabilities appear worse, it sounds like, from the book, and the things that you do today that led you to self-acceptance. Like, this just really touched me. um, in seventh grade, I had no idea how to focus my attention away from the agitated river of doubt, fear, and shame that was coursing through me. I hungered after the perfection of waking up one morning and suddenly speaking and moving normally. Back in the day, I disabled my potential by lusting after perfection.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So 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 what I had in seventh grade and what I still have today is I have a speech impediment and some coordination differences. The same thing in seventh grade and the same thing today. And and we all have circumstances in our lives that are challenging. Some that have lasted years, like my disability, or all my life, and some that arise and we solve them and then not a factor in our lives anymore. And and what fascinates me is our ability to use our circumstances either as a profound limit, like I was in seventh grade, where I got so confused and angry and sad and frustrated that I attempted to take my own life. Lu- Luckily, a voice within me called for help. Luckily, versus, I mean, that was such a profound limitation back then. but versus the same speech impediment coordination differences. Okay, I practice and maybe I become clear over the years. Maybe I become more physically able over the years. Yes, but still these things exist. But now I use them as gifts. I mean, I can wait endlessly about them because they help me relate to just a wide range of people dealing with a wide range of things. So in the way, and I've never said this before, this gives me goosebumps in the way my speech impediment and coordination differences have been my muse. They've been my muse. And then yeah, me when I outline it from A to B, it sounds like a fairly easy process. Oh, just think of whatever I'm dealing with as a gift. Oh yay! But it's really it's a healing journey, and it's a journey that may have a simple conclusion at the end. Oh, like how you figured it out that it's a gift and stuff. But but even if it has a simple conclusion, doesn't mean that journey's easy, straightforward, or anything like that.
Wow.
And Kirk has a question whenever you want to
I
ask.
did. I saw that. I'm going to ask that question in just one moment. I'd like to repeat what you said because I thought that was really powerful. Um, so, in a way, your speech and coordination difficulties have become your muse. That's that's astounding. And
That is I'm astounded like you that I just said that.
yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I'm gonna go look for the quote in your book where um, you. Well, no, no. Look, I opened right to it. I opened right to it. Um, where you were talking about that voice inside your head, and you started to listen to that inner wisdom, and like even when you started doing yoga, and this will go right into Kirk's question here. I'm never going to be able to do that because I'm disabled. Handstands are for able-bodied people. And then once again, that inner voice and that wisdom that got you to start yoga proved you wrong. And now you're able to do countless handstands against the wall, and you've unraveled your story of disability and transformed it into a story of ability. That's it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring. And one of the other things I think, Jason, that really hit me deeply is that you also talked about how one of the areas of life that gets most out of control is when you do everything right and you even get the outcome, but then life doesn't change.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate your voice. I appreciate who you are, not only because of the being that you are, but that you didn't get a miracle, right? You didn't get the miracle of the speech and the coordination difficulties going away. Here you are doing your best, inspiring others, showing up every day fully, and you still are challenged by some speech and coordination difficulties. There's so often in my walk, I think where the war that I have with my body, I get to cover up those scars with makeup and clothes. My difficulties don't show on my sleeve every day, and I think that's why your voice is so powerful, and I just so greatly appreciate that about you.
Hmm. Thank you.
And Kirk then asked the question, because I think this ties in well. So, how have your practices from back in the healing journey time to now, how have they evolved over your lifetime? And in particular, from the moment of personal awakening to the path you're on today.
Oh, thanks, Kirk. You're such a dear friend. Thanks for the question. It's wonderful. And so the short answer is now I am. Yoga helped me transform from my life, hands down. I did probably 11, 12 years of going to yoga classes at my height. I was going to 8 or 9 a week, and just got so much benefit from it. And in the yoga isn't about accomplishing a pose or anything at all, but it's still fun as humans to think about what we accomplish. And at my height of my yoga career, I could kick up into handstand against the wall. Could I kick up into a handstand against the wall? No, nope. I mean, yes, I could practice the skills again and build up to it again at some point. I'm uh, I'm confident, but could I do it now? No, way off the bat, no, no. It would take me months, I think, of practicing. But so the solution to a healing in what works at one point doesn't have to be the same thing that always works. I mean, if I was still going to yoga daily, that might still work for me. But the pandemic happened. I moved back to South Dakota. Yoga classes weren't a possibility, so I learned to I taught myself to meditate to 212 full deep breaths each morning before I get out of bed, and do and count breaths as needed throughout the day. And it sounds ridiculously simple, and it is, but it works for me, and it helps me stay centered, focused, stay confident, stay clear. It's a phenomenal practice for me, and so it's a big part of the path I'm on now, along with a creativity practice, an organization practice, and an action taking practice. I found that I've needed to learn many things to get where I wanted to get. Maybe finding one magic board works for some people to make a fortune, or to heal, or to find the love of their life, or whatever. But I've never found that magic one thing that helped overnight. It's been an ongoing effort of a whole bunch of different things.
I love
Thanks, Cook.
that. So what got you here isn't necessarily going to get you there. I love that. That it doesn't have to be the same thing. And now you're looking into creativity practices and organization practices.
Oh,
I
I would say continuing them. I've
continue
been doing them for years, but they're constantly evolving and growing.
continuing them.
Action taking practice, and
Oh,
then I have an action taking practice too.
An action.
which is essential because if we get totally centered, totally mindful, totally organized, but then take no action on those things, I mean, we may feel really good and feel really clear, but our life's not really changing because we're not being brave and taking the actions that are in front of us to take.
I love that you brought up the word brave. Are you still doing bravery coaching as well?
Well, right now I'm focused on on speaking and podcasting and writing, but but the but I love coaching people, so I'm sure I'm going to get back to it, helping someone on that journey and creating space for them to con- consider new options and to choose their own way and to make mistakes and be resilient when they be resilient in the face of mistakes. That's awesome work for both the client and it's awesome to be a witness of as a coach. So I'm sure I'll get back to coaching in some capacity. I try to run from it, but it's constantly saying, "Nope, remember me. You like doing this. You're good at it. Nope, remember me. We're going to do this." So
And you are. You're very good. And I would tell anybody who has not gotten your book that will get you started. The last part about your book, and then I'd love to hear a little bit more about any new creative endeavors that you're working on. Uh, I love the chapter on my acorn reality. Oof. Each one of us has an oak inside us, onward and upward. And so, my question is, Jason, do you feel like an oak? Because I see the shadows of your leaves as you being an oak. Do you feel that way now today?
for it's such a great question. For most of my life, I just didn't allow myself to feel like oh, we were talking about with moving the finish line about celebrating accomplishments. I didn't allow myself to celebrate accomplishments. I to feel like oh and I thought that was goodness in that. I thought that was humility. I but but really it was more like as people say playing small. Marion Williamson. I love this quote. Says it's a light, not a darkness, that most frightens us. And and I was frightened of my light. And and yes, I'm still try to be humble. Life's very humbling. Uh, there's an endless amount to learn. Things are constantly changing. There's always ways to grow, but and and why not be oaks as we do that? Why not be lighthouses to others? Why not say when we know when we have experience with something? Why not say yes? I have a experience with that. I can help you you along the journey. I can serve as a guide rather than you wandering and thinking there's no guides. Yeah. Why not claim the oaks within us? And I'm a work in progress on that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Heather.
Claim the oaks within us. Is it's so when's your next book, Jason? Is that
No,
what
no, Heather, look at the comment.
oh, from Carl, my family friend. That's so good. Thank you, Carl. Oh, tell Saskia and Sarah hello. Hello. I've got to find some of those pictures. How many times did we like probably pass each other in those early, late 70s, early 80s days? I think about that all the time, Jason. It's hilarious. Carl is wonderful. And just a quick side note, Carl, I love that you still post art from your father. I think that's amazing
Uh,
on Facebook. Definitely follow Carl. And Jason,
just,
if you don't follow Jason. Uh,
just a quick another side note. Carl, your father was amazing. I miss his laugh. His laugh was so brilliant, and his art decorates my dad's home. So he's with us. He's with us.
awesome. Oh, water. That's right. Watercolor Wednesday. That is so great. Now, I totally forgot my last question. Hang on now, Jason. I have to imperfectly go to my notes, look down, look through the last couple of questions I wanted to make sure that I asked. Oh, I remembered. I remembered. So, Jason, you have the vision, and I love this inspiration of speaking to millions of people in your lifetime. I believe you also said in the book a dream that you had of speaking to 4,000 people at once. Um, and to the
Oh, 40,000 maybe.
40,000, thank you. Let's manifest that, right? 40,000. And to the quote that you said, right? Why not me, right? The of course. And Jason, our world, our kids, our teenagers, everything in your story, I think resonates on such a human level, and yet is amplified a little bit. But you reveal it, you reveal the vulnerability so incredibly well and with such a sweet spirit. So to get you to that vision and speaking and other dreams and desires that you have, how can your fans and supporters, how can we support you to realize that vision?
Thank you. It's a great question. It's a vision that's definitely a work in progress. We have a vision and we have a daily lives, and our daily lives hopefully move towards the vision. The biggest support I can always use is I just love the opportunity to be with groups, to interact with groups, to laugh with them, to respond to the questions, to make them think about, or I've asked them to think about perspectives they may not have thought of. So I speak at churches, schools, businesses, basically anywhere there's a receptive audience. And so if anyone listening either e- either is a meeting planner and has a group for me to speak to, potentially, let's just have a conversation and see if it's a good fit. If anyone listening thinks of friends who are organizing events or meeting planners or principals or whatever, let's let me know. Connect me with your friend. That doesn't mean it's a goal. It doesn't mean it has to happen. But if we don't have conversations, we miss out on things changing. Like if Heather and I had just sat on that plane and read our books, never talk because people on planes on strangers on planes aren't supposed to talk to each other. We we would have missed out on all this. Conversations are so good, and they can be fun, and yeah. So thanks for your support.
That's awesome. I agree. We need to get you. I mean, I want to get you in front of every school I possibly know. So if anyone has connections, let's get Jason. Let's get Jason. So many speaking engagements in 23 and 24 that he says stop. No, no more, no more. Give me a year break. I have a waiting list. I want to
Yeah,
manifest.
yeah, I wouldn't want to say stop because I love the flow, but I would love to be able to say, hey, I have a waiting list. Let's check it out and see where you fit into it. Is 2027 okay?
I love that. I love that future speak. I love that. All right.
But just to clarify, no waiting list right now. Please brainstorm. I want to hear your brilliant ideas.
It's awesome. Great. And at the end, Jason will, like all of his guests, give where everyone can reach him. But he always does this great question that he ends each podcast with. And I want to make sure that I do this right. All right. Jason Freeman, what does living your imperfect best mean to you now in 2023?
Hmm. Good question, Heather. I've never thought of that one. No, just just kidding. Um, so like everything in my life, what imperfect best means to me is constantly evolving, constantly growing. When I came up with the concept, I with the help of friends, I thought, oh, it'll have like a pad definition, and but everyone has a different view of it, and I have different views of it at different points in my life. Saying that during my shoot, excuse me. Oh wow, that was really imperfect.
It just wanted to remind you. Isn't that always how it goes?
Yeah, doing my imperfect best today means so mistake resilience, like noticing my mistakes faster and learning from them faster and making the amends I need to make and moving on. I used to think mistakes meant stop. Like I would try something new, like playing the recorder in fourth grade, and I wasn't very good. I made a ton of mistakes, so I just stopped playing the recorder because I made a lot of mistakes, and it was uncomfortable. But now, like with the drinking, coughing thing you just saw, like was that perfect? No, was it kind of it was a cross between a mistake and unavoidable, maybe. But instead of just saying, "Hey, bye, Heather, have to go, not good at this, bye," and quitting this podcast and and quitting this interview and not podcasting again, it's just literally time to learn from it and move on. And we have so many occasions each day. Some are huge. Some are huge. Like I think about a physician making a mistake that puts a patient's life, unfortunately, at risk. Some are huge, like that, are driving and running a stop sign and hitting someone. Stuff we don't want to think about, but there's so many minor things what just happened with me in the water bottle that we can just notice and hey be like, hey, that didn't go right. What can I learn from it? How can I move on? Do I need to make any amends? And then move our energy forward instead of becoming angry, frustrated, trying to deny it and going down that road. It's like driving a car. You're constantly making adjustments as you drive so you go where you want to go, and doing your imperfect best is like that. At least that's my answer for today.
I love that. Well, I will turn it back over to you. So, live with Jason Freeman, and back to the podcaster's host to close us out.
That thank you, Heather. For anyone who wants to reach me, my website is jasonwfreeman.com. jasonwfreeman.com. And Heather, thank you for these amazing questions. Um, it's it's tough to reflect on our own lives in the vacuum of our minds. So when someone like you is willing to ask questions, to prepare, you prepared so much, and you were willing to ask questions for an hour. It's just such a dear gift.
Such an honor. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Have a great day, my friend, and keeping it in the family. Dear, a dear person, Dorothy Grepp says, excellent interview. Thanks. Uh,
Thanks, everybody. Can't wait till I come back again for 357th or something.
yeah. It'll be fun to be interviewing you again, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.
Um, Well, it is fun to ask questions as I frequently always talk about after at the end of the show, and it's fun to be asked questions when someone like caring friend like Heather wants to ask you questions. I invite you not to kind of deflect them or change the subject or whatever, but to really be grateful and unless you absolutely don't want to answer the question, really give them a good answer. It helps the conversation move forward, and so much transformation happens in our conversations with each other. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching this live on replay. And next week, what's happening next week? Oh, how good. My dear grade school friend Lamar Hunt, Dakota kid, he's an animator, he's a brilliant artist. He's an entrepreneur, he's just amazing. And he'll be on next week. So please tune in, and until next week, you are the best you in the world. Thank you.